Today we're in a remote part of Berkshire. We're on a farm and we're here to see Nigel Rees and his team at GSD. Now they spend their days making race cars go faster, but there's no workshop or spanners inside. It's all done with engineering science, computers and clever software. So we're going to go in and find out how it all works.
Yes, basically we're a vehicle dynamics consultancy and an engineering design consultancy primarily for suspension systems. Our core business is making race cars go faster through cornering faster and all other aspects of their performance, including aerodynamics, chassis dynamics, springs, anti-roll bars, dampers. We treat the car as a complete system and we're able to almost invariably make them go significantly faster than they do when they come to us. We do ride comfort analysis for road cars. We run quite significant design projects for I'm going to call them supercars, but for very fast road cars. We do trackside race engineering. We do strategy analysis, or we run strategy software and run race strategy for some of our clients for long races. And we also do trackside engineering. And that basically encapsulates what we are. Fundamentally, we're a vehicle dynamics consultancy.
So is that just in the UK?
Oh no, absolutely not. In the last 11 years, we've analysed over 800 cars, and that's in Britain, all over Europe, Iberian Peninsula, Romania, Bulgaria, China, a lot in the United States, and also in Australia, particularly with the very high-performance time attack cars.
I've got my historic race car. How do you make it go faster?
Well, basically, we measure it, analyse it, produce a report and recommendations, and then we support our client in implementing the recommendations. So the first step is we will travel to our client's premises. We take a significant amount of equipment with us, including laser measurement equipment and laser levels. And we'll measure every suspension pickup point position, track, wheelbase. We weigh the car so we can get its total weight and its weight distribution. We will ask the client for what's his gear ratio, his final drive ratio for an engine torque curve. And we then measure the springs, the anti-roll bars, and the motion ratios between the wheel and the spring damper units and the anti-roll bars. And then we start the analysis process. So we will actually start by entering all this data into the computer while we're at the client's premises. And we can't complete the analysis there, but if we don't enter all the data at that point, there's a severe risk that we'll miss something and we'll end up going back. And so we want to make sure we don't have to do that, particularly if it's in Dundee. So then the analysis process, we treat the car as a complete system. So we'll look at how the car handles now. We'll look at its suspension frequencies, its front and rear roll stiffness, its aerodynamics, its dampers, and we'll produce a set of recommendations that optimize those to give both optimum performance and optimum stability and balance for the car. So the car has to be the best it can possibly be in terms of performance around a lap, but it also has to be drivable. So it has to make the driver comfortable. And a lot of the lap time comes from the technical improvements we make to the car, but a lot of it also comes from us giving the driver the confidence to drive it on the limit.
You produce the report that tells you how to set the car up to make it go faster. So how does that work with different driving styles?
Well, we also, if we know the driver well, and quite a lot of drivers do, we'll have some idea of his style. But in general, if we make the car so it's optimal in terms of both its performance and its stability, pretty much any driver will drive it.
And so can you tell us some of the people and the projects that you've been working on recently?
We've worked for a long time with people like Steve Hartley, with previously the Arrows A4, and now the McLaren MP41 with Mirage Engineering. Steve won the 2014 Masters Historic Formula One Championship, FIA Masters Historic Formula One Championship.
It's a great car, fantastic car. I bought it obviously a few years ago. We've been setting it up ever since, and it's just fantastic to drive. I have a guy called Nigel Rees who engineers the car. He's fantastic. Really knows what he's doing. And apart from the car looking right, it goes right, and that's what's important.
Steve Hartley, as modest as ever, but he's been enormously successful in that car over the last couple of years in Masters all around Europe, and he is indeed on pole.
We work with Martin Stratton on a very wide range of cars, including Formula One. Martin wins in anything.
I'm Martin Stratton, and I've been involved with doing projects with Nigel since about 2012. In that time, we've covered many different cars, sometimes in-house at Martin Stratton Racing, and sometimes where I've just been the test driver. In every single case where the work has been done accurately, then there has been great results. The car has simply required fine-tuning for the driver's taste and style. This represents a massive saving over normal conventional testing and is a very good way of cost-effective motor racing.
We work with Ollie Bryant.
I'm Ollie Bryant, and I've worked with Nigel Rees and the team at Global Sports Development Limited for coming up to 10 years now as a car owner, driver coach and driver. Can't recommend them highly enough. Very thorough, very detailed with their assessments of the vehicle and the changes that you should make. Very hands-on at the test days when it comes to developing the cars further and trying to improve them. We've had a lot of success with cars that they've worked on over the years, and if I work with clients that I'm coaching, and I'd always recommend Nigel to help with the setups of their cars.
Jonathan Kennard, Hancock Brothers, Miles Griffiths, Julian Bronson. So many customers, it's too difficult to mention them all. I hope I haven't left anybody significant out.
So tell us how you deal with aerodynamics.
Well, we use several techniques. If we have a simple car, like a touring car that doesn't have low ride height, doesn't have underbody aerodynamics, we might take it to the Myra full-scale wind tunnel. For a car such as a middle 70s Formula 2 or Formula 1 car, we might analyse the wings separately, which we could do quite simply in computational fluid dynamics, CFD. But for a more complex car, a full ground effect car or a modern LMP, such as the Aurica we've recently worked on, what we would do is we would take a LiDAR laser scan of the car, post-process that, and then we'd run it in computational fluid dynamics, which is quite a complex process. And to do that, we actually use two partner companies, one in Japan and one here in the UK. Once that's done, we would generally, if I take, for instance, I'll go back to Steve Hartley's McLaren. With Steve's McLaren, we took the full scan of the car, we did the full CFD analysis, and then we took it to Llanbedr Airfield, which is very flat and convenient in West Wales, and we ran the car up and down the runway all day at varying speeds and measured the downforce and drag, rake, and built a complete aero map of the car. So we had both the theoretical CFD and the practical, and they tied up remarkably well. And as soon as we tested the car on the circuit, we've barely changed a wing angle on that car.
And tell us, so what are the key benefits to this process?
If we take a race car, there are really four things. One is lap time improvement. Two is drivability and confidence. We make the car nicer to drive, easier to drive, and safer to drive. And the last thing is, and it's very significant, and a lot of our team customers like Raceworks, Martin Stratton Racing, Mirage, Blakeney Edwards, they use this because it minimises their test program. It saves a huge amount of money because the car will be pretty good as it sits on the track, and they don't have to burn tyres, engine hours, parts, and track time in getting the car competitive.
We've had a really interesting day here with Nigel and his team at GSD. They've taught us that if we were running in a major professional race series, this is where we'd start. But because Historic Motorsport's come up in the last few years, and the events like Goodwood, the live streaming, they've drawn huge audiences, and competitors don't want to go round in circles anymore. They want to be at the front end of the grid. And if you want to be at the front end of the grid, this is where you start, in a farm in Berkshire.